So with that in mind, then we'll go ahead to the next, to the first slide. So our goal really is to help people to find ways that they can continue to stay in their own home. We know from a lot of the work that we have done the last few years that one of the things that is that we have learned is that at least 76% of individuals age 50 and over want to basically age in place or stay in their own home, whether that is a home that they are renting or whether that is a home that they currently own. People still really want to age in place. Part of our problem as we go through and think about this is that only 10% of the current homes in the United States are really well suited to be able to allow older adults to live in their own homes. And what we mean by this basically is that there are situations such as people can't get in and out of the bathtub, they have stairs that are problematic. They may have closets that they can't get into. So there's any number of things that people could experience. So one of the things that we'd like you to do just for a few moments is if you would take a few minutes and think about the next set of questions. So the first question is, would you agree or disagree that falling is accepted as a natural part of growing old? Second question is, most falls cannot be prevented. Third question is, reporting a fall to a doctor could lead basically to restrictions on your independence. If you report a fall to your doctor, the doctor may think that you can't take care of yourself, and falls can be very humiliating. Basically, hopefully most of you disagree with all of these statements because none of these statements should be taken at face value. All of them are statements that should be viewed basically as something that you have the ability within your wherewithal to make these changes or corrections. So one of the things that we want to spend a few minutes on is, since we know based on the previous set of statements that falls are not a natural part of aging, what we want to do is look for a few minutes at how can you protect your health to basically continue to stay healthy and help with preventing falls. So probably the most important thing is exercise. Getting up and walking around, going out for a walk, going to a formal exercise program, taking care of grandchildren, cleaning your house, enrolling in exercise classes if that's of interest to you, anything that you can do to keep your body moving. I sometimes tell people, even if you're feeling very, very inactive or very lethargic, once an hour, get up, go to the bathroom, and get yourself a glass of water. You have two benefits when you do that. One is that you keep yourself well hydrated. And the second piece is that you keep your body and its physical needs taken care of as well. People will say, well, I won't drink water because I don't want to have to go to the bathroom as often. My response to that always is, no, I want you to drink water and I want you to go to the bathroom because that's healthier for you. The second thing in terms of your health is to have both your vision as well as your hearing tested. Small changes in your hearing and your eyesight can cause you to fall. It may cause you to lose your balance. You may not see things. You may not hear things that are in your environment. And those are the kinds of things that can be deadly and devastating to you in terms of a fall. The third one, which people don't often think about, is medicine. And with the advent of the internet, It is very, very easy to look at what are some of the side effects of the prescription drugs or the over-the-counter medications that you are currently taking. Sleepiness or dizziness, and dizziness is probably the more common one that I see, is that you may be taking a medication that is actually causing you to be dizzy. And so if that is the case, it certainly doesn't happen in everybody who takes that particular medication, which is why they go ahead and prescribe it. But if you are getting dizzy or drowsy as a result of that medication, you need to report that both to the pharmacist and or to your doctor. Your pharmacist may be able to suggest an alternative medication, and your doctor obviously should know about it so that he can prescribe an alternative medication as well. Other things that you can do is to be aware of inner ear problems. Within the inner ear, there are various workings or mechanisms that is what allows you, if you will, to be balanced. This is the stuff that basically says to your brain that you are in an upright position, that you are standing, that you are sitting. And that is what controls then your ability to stand up, sit down, etc. If you do experience any kind of dizziness or lightheadedness, again, stay sitting. Do not try to get up while you are feeling dizzy or lightheaded. What is going to happen in this situation is that you are most likely going to end up on the floor. Unfortunately, if you end up on the floor, depending on how you fell, one of two things can happen. You could just softly land and you may be able to get up very easily, or the more difficult situation that happens often is when people fall, they try to brace their fall, and then it's at that point that oftentimes you will break a bone. Alcohol, if you tend to be an individual who enjoys wine, or if you or beer or any other type of alcohol, find out what a safe amount is for you. Especially this is important based on the medications that you currently take. As always, diet should be sensible, it should be balanced, and it should be high in energy so that you are, again, able to not be malnourished, because malnourishment, again, can contribute to dizziness. It can contribute to lightheadedness. I am always amazed at the people who will tell me they are lightheaded. And right after I ask the question, what have you been drinking? I usually try to ask the question, and what have you eaten in the last 24 hours? And it's always amazing to me how many people will say, I haven't eaten anything, or I've eaten a bunch of sugar. And that, again, just creates a situation where you are lightheaded because your body is trying to make the nutrients and chemicals that it needs, and it's starved for basically water, especially if it has a lot of sugar in it. Another thing that we highly suggest is that you have a phone near the floor in case you fall and you can't get up. I recently had a lady who fell, and even though her phone was on a nightstand, she said it took her several hours inching her way forward an inch at a time to actually be able to grab that phone and call for help. Other things in terms of your health is to go slowly after you sit down or lie down. Getting up slowly, this allows the inner ear to recalibrate, if you will, and to create that balance. Many of us still have the notion or the idea that we should be wearing fancy shoes, 4-inch high heels on a day like today, when at least here in Denver, we have lots of snow and ice. Wearing shoes that are non-slip, that don't have heels on it, both inside and out of the house, again, is a good practice. Although many of us like to go barefoot, or it might be difficult to put on shoes and socks, that again can contribute to falls. One of the other things that's been known for a long time in the fall literature is that wearing night slippers, especially those little footsie things that some women wear, is another big contributor to falls. So think about avoiding those as well. Lighting is extremely important so that you can see where you are going. If you cannot see where you are going, you're likely to trip on something that's either on the floor or on a piece of furniture. Again, as I said earlier, our tendency is to brace ourselves, and then that is when we end up with broken bones. Another good practice is to have emergency telephone numbers in large print near all of the phones, so that you are in a position to actually be able to call those numbers in case you need help. So that kind of brings us to the end of the discussion associated with what you can do physically and mentally to prepare yourself to reduce the risk of falls. We're now going to turn our attention to basically looking at some home modifications or changes that you can make on your own within your own home. None of these probably will cost you much money, if any at all, but they're very good practices that within your home situation, you can reduce the risk of a fall. So the first thing that we want you to do is we want you to make sure that you have both smoke alarms as well as carbon monoxide detectors, not only in your kitchen, but your sleeping areas, and make sure that you check those frequently. Often a rule of thumb that is used by a lot of people in terms of checking the batteries in these items are that you check them when daylight savings time comes on and when daylight savings time changes in the fall. So check them once in the spring and once again in the summer. The other thing that on the carbon monoxide detectors, they have a useful life. So some of them may only be good for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever their shelf life is. So it's also important to check and make sure that even if you don't get a notice or a warning that something is wrong with it, that you check when it was purchased and that you make the that you replace them as necessary. Another thing to do is to avoid any kind of flammable or volatile compounds, especially near gas appliances. So whether this is your furnace, your gas stove, whatever it is, do not put things like paint thinner, anything that could blow up in near flammable items. Another thing we want you to look at is track out, if you will, your walking path within your house. Where is the usual way that you would go from your bedroom to your bathroom, from your bathroom to your living room, from your living room to your kitchen, from your kitchen to your bedroom? And one of the things we want you to do is to take a look at what kinds of clutter or what kind of stuff is laying around in that path. And we want you to create a pretty wide path. We want it to be at least 3 foot wide, if at all possible, as you look around and do this survey. Reason for this being is that basically we need to have all of the shoes, clothes, papers, books, anything that's sitting around like that, that needs to be picked up and put out of the way. Otherwise, what we find is that you will get tangled in those items as you try to walk or step around them. Again, you increase the risk of losing your balance, and then you increase the risk of a fall. A really, really big no-no is having any kind of wires or cords laying around. Whether this is for lamps, phones, oxygen cords, extension cords, I don't care what these cords are. One of the things that I know from many, many years of experience is that as we get older, we tend not to pick up our feet. And as a result of that, we tend to shuffle more. Some of us may even suffer from a chronic disease such as Parkinson's, in which we are more likely to shuffle. So with that in mind, we do not want anything on that floor that could in fact cause you to trip you as your foot goes across them. If you have to have something laying there, then please get a very large rug and take a stapler, a industrial size stapler with very long staples, and staple that carpet down and staple it well so that you do not get caught on any of the corners of that carpet. When you walk around or do this walkthrough, the other thing I want you to look at is how close you have certain items to each other. So for example, if you look in the picture on the right, one of the things you will see is that the coffee table, although it might be more, it looks like it might be 6 or 8 inches of clearance between the coffee table and the sofa. That again is another way for you to get caught in terms of your feet and for you to take a tumble. So again, leaving adequate space between furniture so that you can move around and have a clear path is extremely important. Lighting, I cannot stress enough about lighting in your home. One of the really, really good things about the new LED lights, especially the white ones, is that you can create a large amount of light in your home, and it's very bright and easier on older eyes as well. Therefore, lighting is probably, in addition to kind of clearing the pathway, the second thing that we want you to look at is, what does the lighting look like? Are you using very dim light, if none at all? Look at the lighting in your hallways and your doorways. If you do not have good light, consider installing light, or if you can put a pole lamp. That's not ideal, but if that's better than nothing. The reason we again don't suggest pole lamps or pole lights is because if you go by that pole lamp and you need to grab something to steady yourself because you are dizzy or you are feeling lightheaded, then that lamp will tip, it won't hold you, and you'll go down with the lamp on top of you oftentimes. Another thing that people sometimes don't think about is their pets. Pets tend to want to be close to you. They often want to walk with you. They often will walk between your legs. So again, when you are standing or walking, make sure that you know where that animal is so that hopefully you can step around it without tripping or falling. Again, we don't talk about that very much, but we do hear in our office a lot of times people indicating that they fell, and when you ask them how the fall happened, they will say that the cat got under their feet. Another thing that happens to us sometimes when we are prone to falls is that we are hurrying. So if we are hurrying to answer either a doorbell or a telephone, we should have something in place that can make sure that we don't necessarily miss the call or the doorbell without having to hurry. So the first thing that I would suggest is on your phone to make sure that you have some type of an answering machine. Cell phones today, if you have one, automatically come with a voicemail, so you can take care of it that way. It's a little bit more expensive, but in terms of doorbells, another thing that you can do is you can install a doorbell with a picture and a remote so that you can see who is at the door and that you can activate again, via the camera, who might be at the door, and you can decide on your way to the door whether or not you want to open it or whether it's important that you want to be able to let the person know that you are coming. So let's look next at the kitchen. So kitchens tend to have a lot of stuff. Kitchens tend to have a lot of pots and pans and bowls and mixers and silverware and all of those kinds of things. One of the things that we want you to, again, look at is where are these items located? So for example, to get out the pots and pans that you normally use, do you actually have to bend down? Do you have to get down on your knees and pull out other items before you can get to those? Again, it's good exercise if you are in a position where you really are very limber and you're able to do that. If you are having problems or concerns with bending, you're having problems or concerns with dizziness or lightheadedness, then we need to move those pots and pans, the canisters, the spices that you most frequently use, whatever it is, those need to basically be at arm's reach, because I don't want you bending over to have to get these kinds of things, because you will fall head first into your cupboards, and then you'll be again challenged with having to possibly have a head injury or something else. Lighting, as we said, is important. Lighting in terms of, can you have good lights in your kitchen so you can read recipes or labels. One of the things that I learned many, many years ago is to have under the counter lighting. That is a very nice supplement, if you will, to the overhead lights in my kitchen. And they are not very expensive to install. In addition to that, it provides for more light on your countertops, as well as just overall in your room. If you are having trouble, again, bending over, one of the things that you might consider doing is putting food in smaller, either baking dishes, cake pans, whatever, and putting stuff in two items rather than in one, because again, one item can be relatively heavy if you are pulling, say, a pan of cinnamon rolls or a casserole out of the oven. So if you had two small pans of casserole or two small pans of cinnamon rolls, they would probably be easier to get out of the oven. Again, you avoid the potential for a burn and or falling headfirst into that oven and burning yourself that way. The countertop, take a look at how high the countertop is. Again, if it's very high and you are trying to work there, one of the things is that could be another fall hazard. One of the things that we all know is that as we get older, we lose height. And so I may have been 5'6" when I was 27 years old, but at 65 years old, I may only be 5'5" or 5'4". You may not lose that much in height that quickly, but people do lose height. So if that is the case, a standard kitchen cabinet is usually a little bit higher than a standard table. So one workaround, if you will, is when you're chopping fruits and vegetables, although it may be a little bit more walking, maybe a little bit more carrying, that is easier, if you will, than falling by standing on a chair or something in front of a countertop. If you have, again, in the kitchen, items that are either too low or too high, look at different ways that you could reorganize your kitchen. So for example, you may want to put your pots and pans on hooks around your stove rather than to have them in drawers. You may want to find a nice looking canister set and keep your sugar and your flour and that kind of thing on your kitchen cabinet. The most important thing as you're going through this or reviewing it is to make sure that these things are at waist level. Once you finish in the kitchen, then it's important to start looking at stairways, hallways, and pathways. As you are going down your stairwells or your hallways, try to look at your carpets. Again, make sure that they are either secured, and when I say secured, either use a non-slip rubber backing, and not the kind that just automatically comes with a carpet when you buy it at the store, but actually a supplementary type of rubber backing. If that doesn't work, then get yourself out a stapler and staple that thing down so it doesn't move. Or thirdly, what I have started to actually do in our home is that I have just given up on a bunch of carpets. And yes, I have to vacuum more frequently, I have to sweep more frequently, but I'm not running the risk of someone stumbling over a carpet. Handrails are extremely important as you go up and down both stairs, as well as if you are able to put them in hallways. Again, because hallways tend to be narrow and not have anything in them, if you start to feel like you are lightheaded, it's important that you have something to grab onto, and a rail in your hallway might be what would be beneficial. Take a look at your steps and see whether or not there is anything that is blocking your steps. So again, looking at the picture on the right here, what we see is the cat has perched herself at the bottom of the stairs. Now, if the cat will move by the time you get down the stairs, great and wonderful. But if you have to step around that cat, see how she has her tail out for comfort of herself, but that is something that you will have to step over and around. Again, could be something that causes you difficulty. After you have reviewed your hallways and stairways, another thing in terms of the hallways and stairways is make sure that there is good lighting in all of those with switches, hopefully a two-way switch, so that you can turn the switch on at the top and you can turn the switch off at the bottom, or vice versa. Again, what this does is it eliminates the need for you to have the switch at one end of the hallway or the stairway, and then to have to go basically back and turn that light off and walk in the dark. So let's focus now on your bedroom. Bedrooms tend to have a lot of stuff in them. Clothes is an important thing. So for whatever reason, when we hang up the rod in a closet, we often hang those rods very high, especially those of us who are trying to get 2 rows of hanging space. If we are, say, for example, hanging up winter clothes on the top, or blouses and skirts on the top, and suits and pants on the bottom, or vice versa. So again, hanging bars with the stuff that you use most frequently at a level that is easy to reach, and then using the proper step stools that you can secure the steps. If you have to use a step stool, is important if you put something at the top. One of my staff, not so horribly long ago, a couple of years ago, actually fell. She had and was storing her sweaters on a shelf above her clothing, and she was climbing up on that stool every morning to get down a sweater. And she did fall. Fortunately, she did not hurt herself too badly, but I had a long talk with her about what's in the bottom of your chest of drawers, and can we move those sweaters to another location. Another thing that's important in your bedroom is having a chair, or at least some place where you can sit. One of the things you do not want to be doing is putting on pants and socks while you are standing. This, again, is a prescription for losing your balance. because you are bending over. Usually when you do that, you may be standing on one leg and just again setting up a situation where you are very, very unbalanced. So having a chair, or if you don't have room for a chair, at least put some type, or at least sit down on your bed to put your clothes on. Look at where in your bedroom your light is located. Is your light very hard to reach when you are lying in bed? Do you not have a lamp next to your bed? Do you have to turn the overhead light off and then wander to your bed in the dark? Again, a very unsafe situation, even if you don't have anything on the floor on the path from the light switch to your bed. So having a light that is easy to turn on and off. Again, if you are into smart technology, there are some lights and ways that you can actually have your cell phone turn lights on and off. Others that you can purchase now also can be turned on and off with just a tap. Again, that's easier for people who are limited in their mobility. Night lights are something that also I want to encourage everyone to have night lights in all of the rooms. And you might not want to use the tiny little ones. You may want to use something that looks more like a small, 10 or 15 watt bulb. Moving now to the bathroom. It's important when you are looking at your bathroom and trying to identify what are the risks or the areas that cause falls. The majority of falls in the homes, no questions asked, happen in the bathroom. They usually happen when people are getting in and out of the bathroom or when they are getting on and off the toilet. So taking a look around, and even if you think you don't need these kinds of things, putting in at least grab bars is an extremely important thing, both in your shower as well as next to your toilet. These two items will allow you to steady yourself again. And yes, I know it looks like you're on your way to not being independent if you install these things, but it's much better to be safe than it is to be sorry. A shower seat, for some people, this is also something as time goes on, that's an extremely important adaptive piece of equipment that can help you to be able to, again, stay balanced in the shower. Shower seats, if you will, again, tend to make people feel like they're getting old. But one of the things that we know happens is that if you are in a very warm room with the hot water running, it doesn't take long for you to possibly feel lightheaded. Always in your bathtub, have some type of self-stick strips or non-slip rubber mats. Again, this is just common sense. Personally, I don't like those things because mold grows underneath the rubber mats. So if that is the case, make sure that either you or your cleaning lady pick those up frequently so that you can avoid having any type of mold grow under those rubber mats. Another thing that sometimes we recommend if you is looking at an elevated toilet seat. There are, again, all kinds of variations of these, but those, again, can help significantly with making sure that you don't lose your balance as you get up from the toilet. So some of this stuff I have covered a little bit, but basically this is kind of your last walk around, if you will. So carpets and cords, those are probably the two biggest things that we know that cause falls. The other thing that I didn't talk at all about is both tile floors as well as wooden floors. Tile floors are extremely prone to people slipping on them, especially if they have water. So if you have a tile floor, make absolutely sure that you have, especially in your bathroom, something on the floor that will, should water get spilled on the floor, especially as you're climbing out of the shower or the tub, that can catch that water and that is safe. You may want to consider putting a relatively cheap carpet in there, indoor, outdoor carpet or something in your bathroom that can easily then be thrown away when it is no longer serviceable. And if it's cheap, then it shouldn't be too hard or too expensive to replace. Wooden floors, which are really, really coming back at this point in time. We're seeing lots and lots of homes that used to be have carpets on the floors. We are now seeing that those are being stripped out and that people are going back to the wooden floors. While they look absolutely grand, both keeping them clean as well as they do tend to increase the falls because of the fact that they are slippery. Some of the new laminate wooden floors do provide a little bit better protection from that. But the old oak wooden floors that we used to get down on our hands and knees and buff up, those are extremely prone to slips and falls. Now, another thing is that when you buy a night light, make sure that you turn it on. Again, most night lights, because most outlets are about ankle high or a little kneecap high. So this can cause you to, again, have to bend over. So one of the things you may want to think about investing in is, again, night lights that are that either are motion detected or that they have a sensor in them and they turn on and off automatically when it gets dark. Again, technology in a lot of these areas is our friend. And I often tell people that technology is one of the things that is going to help you as an older adult continue to live in your own home. Taking advantage of this type of technology definitely helps. So just kind of a last minute check then is check to see where your sofas and your chairs are. Make sure you can get in and out of them easily. If you have just recently washed your floor or scrubbed it, make sure not to walk on it because it's probably going to be slippery. If you've got a housekeeper or somebody who is doing that work for you, again, make sure that the floors are dry before you enter those rooms. Another big no-no is that stop standing on chairs and tables if you can't reach something. Either get a proper step stool that you can lock into place, and even that sometimes is not the best option, but definitely get yourself a grabber stick of some kind, or 2 or 3 or 4 that you can keep throughout the house where you can actually grab things if you need them. The best option, although this doesn't necessarily work for people who are living alone, is to have someone stand next to you if you go up on a step stool. Other things when you are outside is most homes are built with at least one step as you have to step down onto a sidewalk or into a garage. Very few homes are totally barrier-free unless somebody has put a ramp in. If you are out walking, always look down. Now, I personally am not very good at that. My husband happens to be very good at that. So he finds all kinds of pennies and quarters and lost screws and nails, which he insists on picking up. I end up walking over all of those because I'm not looking down and I'm looking around. but it's better to be safe and cautious as he is, because that allows him to be very aware of what is in his path. So he can see if there's a broken sidewalk. He can see if there is a rock on the sidewalk or in the street. So again, looking for those obstructions and making sure that you allow yourself the ability to walk around them. Another suggestion is to look at your outside stairs, especially if they are concrete stairs, and to paint them with a mixture of paint and sand. What this does, again, is it creates a rough surface so that when there is ice or water on that surface, then basically you have a little bit better traction and, again, less likely to fall. If you are able to do your own snow and ice, be extremely cautious. Have your snow shovel again on your porch so that you can grab it as you are making your way down the sidewalk or the stairs, because this again is a prime area or way for you to fall. If you are unable to clear your own snow, then make sure that the people that are clearing it for you get it cleared prior to your going outside. Again, other distractions when you're walking around the house or even outside is watch your step. Be very, very aware of your legs. Be aware of where you are standing and stepping so that you can basically place your foot flat on the floor. That if you hit something with your shoe, that you can feel it through the shoe and you can be aware that this might actually be causing a hazard. In terms of the steps, one of the things that also is helpful, especially if you don't have carpet on your steps, is to put some type of bright or reflective tape on the edge of the stair. The other thing that we know from a vision perspective that's important is to put a different color, if you will. So a black carpet or a very dark carpet, say, for example, at the bottom of the stairs. So again, you create that contrast with the carpet or the paint on the stairs with what is on the floor at the bottom of the stairs. Another suggestion is to have some type of a bench or a table or a chair that is on your front porch so that when you are trying to unlock your door, that you're also not trying to hold any types of packages or parcels or whatever. This again is one of the things that can cause you to lose your balance as you're trying to turn your key, look for your key, find it in your pocket, whatever, and you become then distracted because you're switching sides with the packages or whatever. This again can cause instability and can cause you to fall. These are all the kinds of things that we talk about when people say, how did you fall? You start out the comment with, very stupid. I was stupid and I did this. So these are the kinds of things that we're really talking about at this point in time. Lights with sensors on the porch is another super way, if you will, for you to be able to create enough light that you can see as you're going up and down the stairs, as well as when you are looking for your keys or whatever. So the next couple of slides, or this slide has some resources. The majority or much of the information that we have pulled for today's presentation is actually information that you can find at the Center for Disease Control's website. So there are two different brochures and checklists that you can use from the Center for Disease Control. In addition to that, the National Institute of Aging actually has a set of instructions and a checklist on how to fall-proof your home. And again, we have pulled some of the information for today's presentation from that document as well. So I highly invite you to visit those websites. When you get the slides, if you want to check or click on the links, they should go to these resources. If not, just put those titles in your browser and it should come up. So that concludes our formal conversation at this point in time about fall prevention and home modifications. Again, all of this is within the control of your own abilities to kind of fall-proof your house, if you will. None of this is going to cost you very much money, if any at all. It is basically helping you to be aware of your surroundings and helping you to make sure that you take the proper measures to be safe in your own home. What I will tell you is, and I have now forgotten the statistic, but it's pretty high, something like, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe even higher percentage of people who fall end up going to rehab, are never able to come back to their own home. They end up either in assisted living or a nursing home, and falls are one of the highest contributors, if you will, to people passing away. So eliminating falls in your life is really important. And the two best ways to do that are basically to be aware of your own self and to stay as healthy as you can to prevent falls. And the second is to be in as much control as absolutely possible of your home, and getting rid of all of the things that could cause you to stumble and fall. So I just want to take a couple of minutes before we end here. So I have listed, if you will, the list of different programs that we offer through our agency. So we do give out money to people who are eligible for vision, hearing, and dental services. Some are available only in the metro area, and some are available in other parts of the state. And so we invite you to go to our website to learn more about these different programs and resources that we have available. If we are in a position where we can help you, if you'd like to volunteer, if you have any questions about and need counseling or support, if you need to find a different place to live, such as an assisted living or a nursing home, or you need help in your home, you could certainly visit our website at our housing and home care locator. Probably within the next 2 months, we'll have our 2022 Senior Resource Guidebook available as well. And so that will have updated information. We'd like to invite those of you who are inclined to want to impact public policy as it relates to policies related to senior citizens or older adults in our community. We have several coalitions that we're currently working with. The Multi-Generational Housing Coalition is looking specifically at people who are living in multi-generational households and what some of the benefits and the barriers are to that. We have a housing advocacy coalition, which right now is following all of the bills that have been submitted into the state legislature, trying to advocate as much as we can for people to make sure that some of the ARPA money, if you will, is going to be used for housing for seniors. The Denver Housing Coalition, we're specifically looking at the city of Denver's 5-year plan and wanting to make sure that they focus on housing for older adults. Our Senior Advocacy Corps, we have not met since the first of the year, but are planning to have that activated again. And what we'll be doing there is going over different legislation that affects seniors on a weekly basis. And coming soon, we'll be doing our Patient Advocacy Leadership Summit. So if you're interested in that, watch our website as well. We also do some education and information programming. So we have this Aging in Place series. Coming soon, we're going to be doing a series of sessions on Medicaid and how you qualify. as well as different government benefits, such as SNAP and food stamps and LEAP. Our Salute to Seniors will be July the 9th, and we are going to do it virtual again this year. We were hoping to do it in person, but we're just not sure where the virus is going to go. So we're going to do one more year of virtual, and then hopefully in 2023, we'll be able to move it in person. And then we do our Medicare Monday series in the fall, which is basically a lot of educational programming. But if you have questions about Medicare in the interim, we're certainly happy to help you now. So that concludes our formal remarks this afternoon. I'm going to quickly go through the chat and see if anybody put anything in here that needs to be presented or responded to. And it looks like you guys are all just very complimentary, and hopefully everyone has had their questions answered. We do have a post survey, and if you would take a couple of minutes, I think there's only 2 or 3 questions, and answer those. That is just helpful because that helps when we ask for money to be able to provide this programming to you. It just helps us to be able to get those dollars, and also to report to the public how we are spending our time and energy. So thank you again. You will receive a copy of the slides and the recording for the presentation sometime later, probably today or first thing tomorrow morning. And if you missed it, or if you want somebody to hear it or join you, as I said earlier, you can go to our YouTube channel and it will be posted there as well. Thank you all again for attending, and we will have another session on aging in place in March. So we'll see you there. Thank you again for attending, and have a great day.